Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I would like to share with you 6 authors I read every year. 5 of them are still alive and are extremely prolific authors. What I mean by that is that they publish an average of 1 novel a year. So there is a lot to follow. 3 of them are French, one is Belgium, one is American, and one is Brazilian. So without waiting, let's dive in. The first one is Amélie Nothomb. These are some of her books. It's only a small portion of her books because she publishes 1 novel a year and she started in 1992. So that's a lot of novels. So Amélie Nothomb is an author from Belgium, although she spent all her childhood in Asia. Her father was a diplomat. I think he was the ambassador of Belgium in Japan. So she grew up in Japan. And she has mastered the art of condensed writing. Look at her books. They are very, very slim. And she says a lot with just a few words, which is an art in itself, I would say. What you can notice, I'm going to show you the covers. So these are the French editions. She is on all the covers of her books. Every single cover has her portrait on it, even if she's not in the story. Like, for example, here, this is Les Aérostats. That's her. When she goes on TV, she always wears this hat. She's very famous for her hat, and she's very easy to recognize. Her most famous book is Stupeur et Tremblement, Fear and Trembling, I believe in English, where she narrates one of her jobs in Japan. Actually, we don't know if it's true or if she made it up. And that's the thing with Amélie Nothomb. We don't know what is real and what is not. She also has mastered the art of turning her life into a novel. Because if you read her biography on Wikipedia, you will read that she was born in Belgium. But if you go on other biographies, you will read that she was born in Japan. And all her life is like that. We don't know her exact birthday. We don't know exactly her age. She turned her life as a novel, and she writes novel. So great author. Some of the titles in English. So Stupeur et Tremblement. This is Fear and Trembling. Frappe-toi le cœur. Strike your heart. This is a terrible one. Les prénoms épicènes. La nostalgie heureuse. A happy nostalgia about her childhood in China, I think. Les aérostats. I don't know the title in English of this one. And Mercure. This one has a twist. Oh my gosh. It will just blow your mind. The second author I read every year is Ernest Hemingway, the American novelist. So Ernest Hemingway received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. He has written 10 novels and a lot of short stories. And out of the 10 novels, so far I read 4, 5, 6. I read 6. I'm almost done with his novels, actually. So the titles I currently have in my collections are, and I'm going to try to read the title in English too, because these are all French editions. So Paris est une fête. The original title is A Movable Feast. Hemingway lived in Paris for a while. Second novel, Au-delà du fleuve et sous les arbres. The original title is Across the River and Into the Trees. The third one that I read is Le Soleil se lève aussi, which is the French translation of The Sun Also Rises. Yes, I love that one, although I'm not a fan of corrida. I don't like corrida or bullfights. I found it's a great one. Les Neiges du Kilimanjaro. Les Neiges du Kilimanjaro. is from the 5th column and the first 49 stories. Les neiges du Kilimanjaro, The Snow of the Kilimanjaro. That's a great short story. The classic Vieil homme et la mer, The Old Man and the Sea, which I didn't get really. Les vertes collines d'Afrique, The Green Hills of Africa, I think. Green Hills of Africa, yes. And the last one, which I haven't read yet, but that's my Hemingway for 2026. Pour qui sonne le glas, For whom the bell tolls. So that's for America and Belgium. The next author I would like to talk about is the French author Guillaume Musso. So, sure, there. And this is only a portion of his creations. So Guillaume Musso started writing when he was a student in the year 2000, and he was an immediate and overnight success. I ask the big questions of life, is at the intersection of sociology, life, but with a thriller flavor. The very first book I read by Guillaume Musso, and it's true I was instantly hooked, is this one, La vie secrète des écrivains, or The Secret Life of Writers. That one just, I was hooked. And at the end, the twist at the end is just incredible. La vie secrète des écrivains, Guillaume Musso. Guillaume Musso was born in France in 1974, and he moved to New York, where he spent several months. So a lot of his books are actually based in the US. He survived in New York City by selling ice cream. And when he came back to France, he earned a degree in economics. That's when he started writing. He became an economy teacher in high school. His first novel became a success, and he just left the teaching job. His first book, Skidamarink, is a thriller that opens with the theft of the Mona Lisa from the Musée du Louvre, and it was first published in 2001. Some of his books, apart from this one, which is just the best, you have L'Instant Présent, which is in English, This Very Instant, published in 2015. Central Park, published in 2014. That one has an incredible twist. They all do, actually. I should just say that. His books are just incredible. 7 years later, 7 ans après, An Apartment in Paris, Un appartement à Paris. Angélique, which is one of the newest ones. It was published in 2022. La vie est un roman. Life is a novel. L'inconnu de la Seine. And La jeune fille et la nuit, which is translated The Reunion in English, published in 2018. This is not even half what he wrote. Because if I look at his bibliography right now, the novels he wrote, since 2001, he has published almost one book a year. These are great summer reads, by the way. If you like a thriller, a psychological thriller, a medical thriller, that's the book to go. That's the author, Guillaume Musso. The next author that I would like to talk about is Patrick Modiano. Patrick Modiano, French author who received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2014. The first book I have right now is titled La Place de l'Étoile. It was published in 1968, and although it is showing the Place de l'Étoile with the Arc de Triomphe right here, which is an actual plaza in Paris, the book is actually about the yellow star that the Jews had to wear during World War II and how it is now engraved in the heart of the people. At least in 1968, it was still engraved in the hearts of the survivors. The second one is titled Les Boulevards de Ceinture. In English, the title is Ring Roads. This one was published in 1972. Rue des Boutiques Obscures, or Missing Person, published in 1978. Voyage de Noces, Honeymoon. That's a weird one, but interesting. Chien de Printemps, After Image in English, published in 1993. Dora Bruder, Un Pédigré, a pedigree, where he asks the question of what it means to be Jewish. Pour que tu ne te perdes pas dans le quartier, so you don't get lost in the neighborhood, published in 2014, translated in 2015. So that's the year he received his Nobel Prize, 2014. Encre sympathique, Invisible Ink. And the last one I read is Chevreuse, published in 2021, Scene of the Crime. This one goes back all the way to World War II. It's actually a double timeline. There is 2 days timeline where he is investigating the place of a crime, and it goes back in time during World War II, where there was a crime that was committed in a house. So this is Patrick Modiano. Guillaume Musso and Marc Levy are the two authors that the French are going to be waiting for every summer. And they are going to buy the books and read them when they go on their vacations. This is the very first book by Marc Levy that I read. Une fille comme elle, A Woman Like Her, in English, that's the translation. And it's a very special book because one of the characters was wounded during the Boston bombings in 2014. And in 2014, I actually lived in Boston and I was supposed to volunteer at the marathon that day. And when I woke up that morning, for some reason, I canceled my participation. I said, I cannot go. And I guess I was inspired that day because of what happened. That's a beautiful story. It's extremely well written. I don't know what to say other than it's one of his best books. I really, really recommend that one. Une fille comme elle, A Woman Like Her. It was published in 2018 and translated in English in 2020. Another book by Marc Levy is Ghost in Love, also set in America. A lot of his books are set in America. I think he actually moved here. This one is set in California. Ghost in Love. It's a story of father and son. Interesting, different, very different from everything I read by him, but a very good one. And then we have his trilogy. C'est arrivé la nuit. It happened one night. The second volume in the trilogy is Twilight of the Beasts, Le Crépuscule des Fauves. And the third one in the trilogy is Noah. Same title in English. Next, I have La Symphonie des Monstres. I haven't read that. It's on my TBR. These three are on my TBR too, actually. So La Symphonie des Monstres, The Symphony of Monsters. And the last one he published, La Librairie des Livres Interdits. Look at that cover. How beautiful it is. La Librairie des Livres Interdits, or The Bookshop of Forbidden Books. I can't wait to read that book. This is Marc Levy. So that's number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. The next one is a very special author. Oh, actually, I have 7 authors, not 6. My bad. Christian Jacq is a famous French author who is also an Egyptologist. He holds a doctorate degree from the Sorbonne. And I counted, and that's what I counted, over 146 books that he wrote in 40 years. He wrote novels, mysteries, comics, YA and middle grade books, essays, of course, essays on Egypt and ancient topic. He's the one who popularized Egyptology and ancient Egypt back in the 80s. The first book by him that I read is also the first one he wrote, I think, Champollion l'Égyptien. And oh my gosh, it's so good. He took the writings of Champollion, or if you don't know, Champollion is a Frenchman who managed to translate the hieroglyphs. Before him, we didn't know how to read the hieroglyphs. He used the Pierre de Rosette, which is now at the British Museum in London. Took the diaries of Champollion and he turned them into a novel. If you like Indiana Jones, that's a real life Indiana Jones. A lot happened. Betrayal, exploration, Egyptology, traps, everything happened to that man. It also explained how the Louvre got its collection of antique Egyptian artifacts. They actually bought the artifacts, most of them. The second novel I read by him is Le Lotus d'Or. I guess the translation would be The Golden Lotus. Also a very good one. And the last one he published, at least last year, was Égypte, mon amour, which is kind of a memoir of his trips and his love for ancient Egypt and modern Egypt too. And I realized I am missing one of them because he wrote also contemporary stories based in modern Egypt. And I read one of them, which was interesting. It was not his best. If you want to start with Christian Jacq, start with Champollion l'Égyptien. That's just like, wow. So the next author and last author that I read every year is Brazilian author Paulo Coelho. That's just a small portion of his books, but I read all of these. Of course, the most famous is The Alchemist. That's a must read. It's read also in business circles because Paulo Coelho started his life in the music industry. He always wanted to be a writer, but his parents sent him to law school, which he dropped out of because he didn't want to be a lawyer or anything of the sort. He wanted to be a writer. He had an interesting life before being an author in Brazil. He was engaged in other activities that cost him a lot, I would say, because he was arrested in 1974. He was arrested in 1974 for various activities, and he was tortured while in custody. So most of his books, as you can see, are not thick. They are easy reads. They are fast reads, very contemplative, very philosophical, except maybe hippie. This one is a lot thicker than the others, I can see. It's interesting. That's about being a hippie in the 70s. So the titles I have, of course, like I just said, I have Hippie, L'Alchimiste of The Alchemist. This one is La Voix de l'Archer, The Archer. That one is very, very interesting. It's different from everything else. There are drawings in it. It's just very philosophical, how you can apply archery, philosophy, theory, way of life to your own life. La Cinquième Montagne, I didn't care much for that one. He takes the story of Elijah and he romanticizes it. La Cinquième Montagne in English is the fifth mountain, I believe. And the last one I have here, actually, I'm missing one. I have another one somewhere upstairs. Le Pèlerin de Compostelle, the Pilgrim of Compostela. That's also a very intriguing one. I found it interesting. And that's it. That's my 7 authors, not 6, that I read every year. So tell me in the comments, do you have any authors that you go to every year? And if you don't know what to say in the comments, you can just drop an emoji down there, an emoji of a book. Yeah, an emoji of a book to say hi, to say that you were here. So thank you for today, and I will see you in the next video.